Uh,
We're here tonight talking with Greg, the improbable but probable semifinalist in APL this year. So, how you doing tonight, Greg?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just had a nice dinner and um, enjoying a Central Waters, call me old fashioned, 12%.
Nice.
So I thought it was fitting to drink something that has the same alcohol percentage as my percentage of winning this week. So cheers.
Very fitting, yes.
Yeah,
So, we'll kind of like cover the season maybe a little bit chronologically in the interview here. So,
makes sense.
how did you feel about your team right after the draft?
Well, that's an interesting question, Eric. I wasn't as high on my team as I typically am after a draft session. Diaper rash might have been in play. So it might have been affecting my mood a little bit. But when you have all those early picks, you end up drafting guys that maybe are more name recognition and it's kind of like where they should go. And it's not, you lose those picks where you maybe take a flyer on somebody that you're kind of psyched about and you think is a sleeper or whatever. So I wasn't like super confident right off the bat, but I certainly wasn't as low on our team as most of the league was. So
Yeah.
I'll say,
Yeah. So, feeling kind of like middle of the packish, all right?
yeah, yeah,
So, like kind of out of the gate, there's just like a slew of injuries. So, like,
right, right. Didn't see that coming.
yeah, Keenan Allen goes down, Dobbins goes down, Kittle hurt before the season even starts, and you had like I don't know, like almost every tight end you picked up had a groin injury. So
Three on roster at one point, all with groin
yeah,
injuries.
so will you be scouting groin health of tight ends going into the draft next year?
Yeah, well, groins are tricky. They can kind of pop up out of nowhere. But
Okay.
we definitely, our training team has always got a close eye on groins, whether they play tight end or any other position,
Yeah,
or
good to
whether
know.
they play football at all. So, um, so we're definitely on it, and no one else knows how to nurse them back to health. I think better than we do. So,
All right. Yeah. So I would say the next part of the season is kind of shaped by well, I shouldn't say the season maybe hasn't started yet, but this season is kind of shaped by three trades. One is the trade up for Burrow. It was hands down on the worst pick of the draft. It was like a landslide. Um,
mm-hmm,
so
mm-hmm.
did it work out like you planned? And any message for the haters that chose that as the worst pick of the draft?
Yeah, oh, for sure. So rated Joe Burrow was rated the worst pick in the draft, right?
Yes.
So he's currently the fourth best quarterback in our league, and I got him in the fifth round. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
worst pick in the draft.
Yep.
So I looked back at did some reading on the preseason preview and noticed that Rodgers was noted as a nice value pick. So that's great. Great value there for Rodgers. We're really
Mm-hmm.
happy for that.
Mm-hmm.
So sorry, my pick wasn't as cute or considered a value pick. But I wonder how many of those, so landslide, everyone thought that was the worst pick. So how many of those people that voted that way are out of the playoffs right now and going to be watching Joe Burrow's ass from the sidelines this week?
Most of them.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what I would say about that. And then also, so this cute value pick and Rodgers, guess who's banging down my door all year trying to get Burrow off my hands, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, some of the things he was willing to do to get him, I'm talking about Tank, of course,
Right.
was kind of embarrassing. Um, I mean, I think a toothless meth head on Hennepin would be embarrassed about some of the things he was offering. I
Ooh,
mean, squat thrusts in his cucumber patch. What does that even mean?
really?
Yeah.
Wow. I've I've heard of that before, but I've never heard him offer that. I think that's
Yeah.
pretty pretty over the top.
Yeah. So I don't know. Yeah, for the worst pick in the draft, he was sure offering up some creative things. Squat thrust in his cucumber patch.
Ooh. All right, so we're gonna move to the next trade. This one, you sent out a note to the team or to the group and said, I'm looking for some tight end 2 help, and I have Garrett Wilson.
Right.
Today chats with you. You know, Garrett Wilson for Gerald Everett kind of seems like that would work, but Singletary, Josh Jacobs were involved.
Right.
Could have that gone worse?
Well, on paper, maybe not. You know, most people would probably say no, but we weren't expecting, you know, Everett was the 7th best tight end at that point. And then we inserted him into our lineup. He puts up 1 catch for 2 yards. So that caught us a little off guard. You know, you make some rash decisions when you start out 0-4 or 0-6 like we did. But, you know, if I knew we were only going to need 4 wins to get in, we might have been able to be a little more patient. But at that point, we weren't real confident in Kittle. We should have known that if we were going to do anything, he was going to have to be a factor. But I have a question for you, Eric. Do you know how many 175-point games Josh Jacobs had last year?
I would say 0.
Exactly 0. Exactly 0. And his only 200-point week, or his last 200-point week, was in week 1 of 2020. So, yeah. So, 21 of his last 40 were below 100 points. So that's not great, right?
Right.
And at that point, he had that 1 big week, but through that first 3 weeks, he was like the running back in our league. So
seemed expendable.
Go ahead.
He seemed expendable.
Seemed like it. So yeah, I mean, if you asked if I'm surprised that he's probably going to end up as the running back 1 in our league, I mean, if I woke up tomorrow morning with my head still on the carpet, I wouldn't be more surprised. But I'm not too worried. But maybe I shouldn't be. I mean, that's 2 years in a row I drafted the top running back in our league, so maybe I shouldn't be as surprised. But I'm not too worried about it. You know, what have I told you for years now, Eric? What's my saying? What's my motto? My credo? Week 1 through 12 for show.
Yeah.
Week 13 to 18 for dough.
Yeah,
that's right.
So serious then.
Yeah. So we know who Josh Jacobs is in our camp, and I promise you, when Scotty goes to turn his lineup this week, and his fingers will be shaking like a leaf when he goes to click Josh Jacobs. You know, I'm starting Josh Jacobs with my playoff ass on the line. Good luck. I would be caught dead starting Josh Jacobs in our playoffs.
It's a big claim. We'll see how it plays out.
What have I got to lose?
Right.
Playoffs are fucking 4 wins.
All right. So last trade. So we got Tank. He's kind of languishing without a QB for a while. Like you said,
really languishing.
Cash things are being offered.
Right.
You got 2 really good ones. You got Herbert and Burrow.
Yep.
It ends up being Herbert and Jamal Williams and Amon St. Brown for Stafford, who died, Mixon, who kind of died, and Pittman, who's fine. So, you know, you had 2 wins on the season at that point. Why not just a draft pick for Herbert? And could have that one gone worse?
Well, that's a shitty question. We needed a running back. You know, we had our eyes on Mixon for a while, and he was having a good game, and then of course gets concussed. We lost by 4 points that week, so if he just finishes the game, you know, it's probably a W. You know, if we don't make the trade at all, we probably win. But so on paper, you know, looks kind of bad. But when I traded St. Brown, Tank left him on his bench. So it's not like he was tearing up the league either. And then what does week 11 pay in our league, Eric? What does it pay to win?
$0.
Right, 0. Right. So do I really, you know, give a shit? Yeah, it could have gone worse. I could have all of those players and be watching the playoffs like Tank is. So yeah, it could have gone worse for me.
Could have.
But so I guess it kind of fucking worked out. But are these the same questions you're asking Scotty and Jake and Daggy? Is this the interview for the toilet bowl? Seems like a pretty ballsy line of questioning for somebody that piled up 3 wins this year, if you ask
Yep.
me.
Yep. But I stopped trying in like week 3, so there might be a difference. I don't know. And no, the questions for those guys might be different because they like have more wins. So, but
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
So kind of on that point here, it could have been easy for you to give up at any point this season. Prior to week 14, you had 3 wins. One of them was against me. The other 2 were against Solomon. Like we mentioned, we kind of both gave up really early in the season. So what was the driving motivation behind continuing the quest for that last playoff spot?
Kevin, if I had to answer that in one word, it'd be Kevin. I had the say goodnight. Somebody walked by. We had the say goodnight Kevin bit and the GIF kind of thought through weeks ahead of time.
Mhm.
So to have that line and GIF combo lined up and not use it, I think would have been kind of tragic. So that was part of the big factor.
A+, by the way. Well done.
Yeah. So I mean, that's it boils down to that really. Also just motivated to not miss the playoffs after having all that extra draft capital in the fall. All along I kind of felt like this team should be good, and we have guys that would crush and then suck and never put it all together, injuries. So actually I thought we were a better team most of the season than we are even right now. We knew Kevin's record was kind of inflated by getting to play some cream puffs like you and Solomon that we had upcoming on our schedule and would be able to make up some ground when we got to those games.
Mhm.
And then of course after Solo and I met in week 7, both being 0-6 I believe, and after that win, we kind of chatted and I told Solo I would dedicate my run to taking out Kevin to him and his train wreck of a season. So I wanted to do right by him and give him our best effort, but and the rest of the league, I think appreciated that. So it hasn't been our best season, but it maybe is one of our most rewarding. And we know what we can do once we get in. Like I said, week 1 doesn't pay anything. Week 11 doesn't pay anything. The best record in the regular season doesn't pay anything. So we've got a chance, and I would really love to have my name on that trophy with maybe the best record overall, 15-1. And man, I would love to see my name on that trophy with a 7-10 record. Wouldn't that be fucking awesome?
That would be. Mm-hmm. That would be great. So, kind of talked about week 14 a little bit. Walk us through your emotions and the meat grinder that was week 14.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that you didn't ask about my team name over that stretch of the season.
So yeah, it is interesting. The season started with "It's Your Funeral," so pretty confident in the team. Then it changed to "I fucking quit," and then it changed to "I really fucking quit."
Right.
So yeah, I don't know if that quite lines up with your answer, but
Well,
what do you think?
Have you ever heard of Plato, Aristotle, Socrates? Have you heard of those guys?
I've heard of them. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Morons. All right. You think I would have been able to make the late season deals that I did and get set up with the players that I need to make this run if I named my team, I have a plan to get all your players to get you out of the playoffs? Probably not, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
always
yeah. So that's kind of where that came from. We never doubted that we would be in this position.
All right, so back to week 14.
Yeah, I remember it.
Kind of a meat grinder. Walk us through your emotions for the week.
Boy, we were kind of prepared to lose. Kind of had reconciled that we maybe wouldn't be as locked in or epoxied to NFL football over the last couple of weeks. Maybe maybe dial in on like MILF Manor or something and start watching that for the winter. But you know, I hadn't even turned the game on yet when I heard the injury. So, but with all the bad luck with injuries we had this year, you know, maybe we were due and we'll take it. But as far as like feeling bad about eliminating Kevin, I mean, come on, like next question. Of course not.
I wouldn't either.
No.
All right, so you had Corey last week. Wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't quite as intense as Kevin the week before. So how'd your emotions go last week? You had kind of into the week, and then Kittle happened on Thursday. Things are looking good, and then Burrow kind of is getting you a little concerned. Would any doubt?
I mean, yeah, I mean, Corey's usually a pretty staunch opponent. A lot of respect for him in that locker room and what he does. So we felt confident going in with some of the injuries he had over the season. Felt like he was coming back to the pack a little bit. So Kittle's getting us off to a good start on Thursday. You know, I know that maybe a lot of or some owners would have hesitated to put him in the lineup, but it was a good thing we did, and he did what he did because that was really kind of the difference all the way through the weekend. Uh, was his performance. So, but yeah, I mean, the spots that he got points, you know, I didn't think Taysom Hill was going to be a reason to be nervous, and he went out there and had a good game. And then watching Dalvin in the second half of that game was nerve wracking.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Burrow Mixon combo, kind of not doing anything and then getting a bunch of short fields. But you know, the worst pick in the draft threw 4 touchdowns in the second half, and Joey Sly iced it on Sunday night with a couple of good kicks. We cut his ass, by the way, this week. So that's, you know, kind of how we operate. You can help us or you can't.
Yep.
He helped us, and we're done with him. And then Rodgers and Jones are just always. I know they needed a lot of points, but they're nerve wracking, and we know here better than anyone what they can do if they get on a run and they start dumping screen passes off for 50 yards. So yeah, we were just trying to watch the clock and hope it wound down really quickly on that one.
It did. All right, so now you have Sade. You just got to beat him to get to the title game. He's been in the title game the last 3 years, so you know, tough opponent. So what's the strategy?
Strategy. Oof. You know, I think don't be afraid to make some calls on the starting lineup. That others might question. You know, Kelsey against the Chickens is going to be a tough one to overcome. He's probably going to put up a lot of points. So I think we need to put in some guys with some high ceilings this week and hope for the best. You know, Jacobs will probably cobble together 90 some yards on 35 touches. So we'll have that to deal with. But now he's got Hurts on the injury list. So hopefully we can gain some separation at quarterback and wide receiver. Maybe we can force Scotty into an unforced error, like maybe starting Tua this week. But I don't know. I mean, look, we're probably going to get killed, right? But we'd probably be like the TCU of this Final Four. So, but I tell you, I'm here to tell you, it is not a slam dunk, and we've been here before, and we know what we're doing, and Scotty knows it. So all the pressure's on him to make the right calls this week. And so I don't know. I guess my message would be go ahead and doubt us. You know, it's your funeral.
Consistent from the beginning of the year.
That's right.
Nice.
We never strayed. We knew our compass was always pointed in the right direction. You know, we're not surprised to be in the semifinals.
All right. Those are all the questions I have. Anything else for the league, or we're good to go?
No, again, just like, you know, like hope nobody gets hurt feelings. It's all for the bit. Really enjoy the the conversation and the trash talking and Kevin dropping off handmade notes in my mailbox that kind of put a scare in the rest of the household a little bit. But no, it's been a lot of fun, and should be a fun couple weeks. But I appreciate everybody. Hope everybody has a great Christmas, and stay safe and tank get fucked.